Hello, welcome everyone. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from. You're very welcome to week 2 of the WIT Regatta. Is this your first session of the day? Let me know in the chat and let me know how you're doing. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best. How are you feeling today? Want to know? You're very welcome to today's job expo, which is up close and personal with Nordstrom. So for those of you who are new to the WIT Regatta, you've probably heard this spiel already. It was founded by Melody Berenger, and it's a gathering to connect women in tech to mentors, peers, and resources to strengthen our community, advance your career, and to learn more from one another. And while we're here to elevate women in tech, we also believe that tech is for everyone, and that goes beyond gender here. So this is the 5th year that the WIT Regatta has happened in Seattle. It's also been in Vancouver and Amsterdam. And this is the 2nd year that we are doing it virtual. So fingers crossed next year it will be in person and we'll get to see everyone in person again. I'll be adding some various housekeeping disclaimers into the chat over the next few moments. But without further ado, I would like to introduce you to your moderator today, Christian Richardson, Senior Program Manager in Marketplace Inclusion for Nordstrom. Over to you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are all very excited to be here and just really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to be here with us today. Innovation is best served by a diverse team, and tech companies, or any company for that matter, really must innovate to consistently stay ahead of the market and in order to attract the best talent, to ultimately enhance the overall culture at the organizations in which they're building. So, improving diversity is not only the right thing to do, but it's also a business imperative. So with that said, today's panel, we're going to chat about diversity, career development, and culture with some of our talented women in tech here at Nordstrom. So with that said, I am going to go on ahead and kick things off and give our panelists an opportunity to introduce themselves. We're going to do it a little bit what we call here at Nordstrom a popcorn, where I'm going to call in someone to introduce themselves, and then from there they can call in the next person. So I'm just going to go based on who I see on my screen first and start with Nicole.
Nicole Otten, she, her. I am a recruiter here at Nordstrom-Technology space, focusing on our data analytics services and data science and data analytics space. I'm happy to be here. And I'm going to popcorn to Joyce.
Hello, I'm Joyce Chen. I am a Senior Director of Engineering at Nordstrom. So super excited to see you all today. I'm going to popcorn to Bimbei.
Thank you, Joyce. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone from wherever you are dialing in. It is a pleasure to be here. My name is Bimbei Onofua. My pronoun is she, her, hers. I am one of the engineering directors here at Nordstrom, and I support our loyalty gift card and marketing programs. And I will go ahead and popcorn over to Fenya.
Thank you, Bimpei. My name is Fenya. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm super excited to be here. I am one of the recruiters for early in career, recruiting for Engineer 1 roles. And I don't know if there's anyone else. I don't think so, right?
I think we've covered it. So thank you, everyone. So with that said, let's go on ahead and dive in and make the best use of the hour that we have here together, because we all know how quickly that can fly by. I'll start off and maybe just like pivot this question to you, Joyce. Tell me about what led you to Nordstrom-Technology specifically, like how, what was your career journey like, and what motivated you to come on over to Nordstrom?
Yeah, thank you. So I'm a very creative person, and so I love technology, and I also love fashion. And Nordstrom just have this perfect combination of fashion and technology. And that's what brought me to Nordstrom, and also a group of people who are really supporting each other to be successful. And from the technology side, what I also find out, what I love about is I can see any changes my team do, any of the technology change we do, I can see it right away, within hours, within minutes, being used by customers. And I can see those data coming back. And I can see how my work every day is impacting Nordstrom and bringing the positive impact. That I just super, super love. I just don't know what other company can go to top that. So one thing I always share with people is the way I test my product. So I support all the management group. The way I test my product is by placing an order. And I love it. I just love it. So that's what brought me to Nordstrom.
Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Bimpei, same question. What brought you to Nordstrom and what inspired you to specifically go into a tech career at Nordstrom?
I think, first of all, and I'll echo what Joyce said, coming to work every day is like eating your cake and having it. You can talk about fashion and you can shop fashion all day, and it totally works well for everyone. But seriously, though, I think I was attracted to Nordstrom first and foremost by its aspirational values. We want to make our customers look and feel good. I am the granddaughter of a tailor, and I grew up, and so there's personal attraction on that level. I think secondly, for me, it's really seeing an organization that just doesn't have aspirational values, but there's intent and intentionality about really doubling down and living that out. I started out my career journey in technology, but I think that combination of I can be a technologist and I can really live out this inspiration of looking and making people feel good, I really think is the best combination of coming to work. But as an engineering leader, I think one of the things that really works is that then I can bring my skills and talent as an engineering leader to Nordstrom. 54% of our business heightened by COVID is digital. And that really implies a heavy e-commerce ecosystem that ensures a seamless experience, not just digitally, but also how do we make sure that that experience carries out to the customer. Being in charge of our loyalty as well as our marketing communications, our customer is at the center of everything that I do on a daily basis. And so it is our customer that continues to drive our business. And so more than that, when you think about procurement to inventory management to our supply chain to our last mile of delivery, the customer is at the center of everything that we do. And so making sure that in terms of the customer experience, how we communicate, how we market to you, how we make sure that we're personalizing any content in our outreach to you, but more importantly, how are we doing that with security, with privacy, with compliance as a non-negotiable, are really the things that I think attract and keep me here at Nordstrom every day. And truly being able to say we are a fashion authority, but we're also a digital and really cutting edge technology company.
Wonderful. I love the way that you've pulled the thread between like just your passion for tech and then also your passion for fashion and how those two really do actually marry together, especially like as we go towards the future in terms of what that looks like. So that behind the scenes, I think it's really helpful people to know and understand, to being able to have a love and balance for both, especially at a company like Nordstrom that increasingly finds opportunities to become more tech forward and tech focused. So thank you for sharing that. I would love to ask the same question, but pivot it a little bit more specifically about Nordstrom in general. So for Nicole, what specifically brought you to Nordstrom?
You know, I came from a retail background, so the end all, the be all, the place to be was always Nordstrom. So when I moved, I was living abroad. I moved to Seattle in Nordstrom headquarter land. It was the most exciting place, and so I had to work here. And the big thing is the way they treat you as a customer, just from the store or online or anything, that trickles upwards, downwards within our entire organization. And so, understanding it's a family-run company that has been around for a long time. People stay here, have longevity here, enjoy working here, and hearing all of that, and then our values that we have, that we're customer success, that we're here to win. That's a place that I knew that I could excel at, and it's been true for the last 3 years that I've been here. They really care about their people internally just as much as externally. And we get to do really exciting things. We're on the forefront of the digital side in fashion, especially retail and from a department store. So it's really exciting to be able to see what we put out in the market.
Wonderful, thank you. Fenya, same question. What inspired you specifically, or what inspires you specifically to be here with us at Nordstrom? Or what's your favorite thing about working at Nordstrom?
Ooh, that's a tough one. There's so many good things to say. What I love about Nordstrom is how we extend ourselves and how we support each other, especially when COVID came and hit. We all had to work remote, and that was new for some of us, especially for me. When I was walking into the office, I had my teammates side by side. We were working shoulder to shoulder, and we really had to pivot and learn how to work remote and how we were going to extend ourselves, whether that was through mentorships, having extra mentors, meetings, connecting with folks, just to make sure that we were all in a good space and place, and just learning new technology. That's what I love about Nordstrom, is that we are a family. We extend ourselves in many different ways. We have so many different groups at Nordstrom that any of us can join, and that's important to me, that we make space for everyone and all to be part of one community.
Excellent, thank you.
You're
I'm going to pivot the conversation a bit and maybe talk about things that are a little bit more project focused. So what project are you currently working on that makes you really excited about what Nordstrom's doing? And I'd like to pitch this back to Joyce.
Thank you. So as I mentioned, I support order management group. For the past 2 years, we've been doing this order management group transformation on technology stack. Pretty much what it means is we have some legacy system and we modernize it into cloud. And we are almost at the end of the journey. And I'm really proud of this journey because of the teamwork and the architecture and design transformation we did. It was a huge lift. And so just this week and last week, one pet project I have been doing, as my team was so busy, is with this modernization, we have all the data in events, and everybody can, with the right security, can consume these events. So I have been building dashboards myself. And it was really fun because I can see each order, how the life cycle is, when was it shipped, and which store fulfill it, and then how long the routing takes. All these detail I could see, and I can look at those and think about how can I make it better. How can we make sure the customer get the best. You have the best experience when you're ordering something, and then you got your product the fastest you can. So that for me is really fun for me to work on, and the bigger project is really the entire team is working on, and I really can look at that. So I really have so much fun just building the dashboard myself, and because that represents the fruit, the result of the teamwork. Thank you.
Thank you. That sounds so interesting. Bimpe, same question. What's a project that you're working on right now that just makes you really excited about what Nordstrom is doing or the direction that Nordstrom is moving in?
I think one of the projects that is really, I'll call it scary, exciting, because we're just starting out with it, is really kind of getting to what is the next generation of marketing and personalization. And really, it is how do we curate throughout our entire ecosystem, as Joyce mentioned, our order data, the volume of just sheer events of orders that are happening at any point in time, inventory, transactions that are happening at the store, customer behaviors. And how do we bring together all of this data into our analytics platform? And we're now at the cusp of with our data science, our data analytics team doing all the what I call data cooking and building models and building insights out of all of this data that really is going to allow us on the marketing side to have insight and say, you as the customer, we know you, we know who you are. We do put into consideration what your preferences are, what your privacy options are, but how do we use that to really, really drive a rich experience in how we communicate with you at any given point in time? For example, if I just bought for myself, as I mentioned, a nice, ring set for my birthday. And how do we use that to actually say, hey, you bought this ring set, but here are recommendations of other things that we think with also that pair of jeans that you bought that will give you a nice look. And how do we actually market and communicate all of that to you in the way that you want to receive it, whether that is via email, app, what are those touch points through which you want to interact? So we're really on that first phase of the journey, and I'm very excited to see how that really shows up as our customers engage with us through the stores or engage online.
Excellent. Excellent. I love that. So pivoting again, I'm curious, Nicole, what is one piece of practical advice that you would give to someone just starting out? And I'm speaking more specifically around, their resume, or, how to address the company, like, in the best way, like their best approach, conducting research, asking the right questions, those types of like really good first step interviewing things that we all could benefit from, like anytime we're venturing back out into the world, trying to land somewhere with a new company family.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think it's always a little trepidatious and scary to start looking for your first job or a new career shift or anything like that. I first and foremost, I would say, and we mentioned what you just said, do your research. Make sure that where you want to apply and where you want to work is actually where you want to work. Look into what the company believes in, what they're working on, are the projects aligning with their values and where you see your future going? Or is it a great company that you can start your career in and then make change and grow in? Do you see yourself growing in that company? Reach out to people utilizing LinkedIn or these events to learn more and get, intel, real life experience of what is it like there? What are you working on? What do you enjoy about it? I think there's where you should start, just so you make sure that you target the places you want to be at, not just targeting a company to target a company to get a job, right? As for other tactical things like your resume, showcase what you do, what you've done, and what you want to do. What we want to see and what we see, we look for people who are curious, who want to invest in themselves, and a resume can actually show that. You can show what you've done and what you pulled out of it and what your accomplishments were. You can also kind of showcase what your objective is and what you're looking for your future. And looking at that helps us look at this person and say, this person can really make an impact within our company. And when you get the opportunity to interview, ask questions. You're interviewing us just as much as we are interviewing you. And we want to make sure that the word, I hate using this word, but this fit, it's a fit for you too, that it makes sense for your future. And those are a couple of things that I would say. And push yourself out there to talk to people. people have 15, 20 minutes to get on a phone and to give a little bit of information and just frame it as, I want to know more. And people are always willing to share about their job, their company, and their goals.
Thank you. Fenya, same question. What I guess, like, in your career, in your time and looking for jobs, or even your first job, what bit of application and process and interview advice has served you well over time?
Thank you. So similar to Nicole, I think being curious, but also having a passion to learning more, and not being afraid to learn more, especially when it comes to early in career. We're not asking you to know everything. It's your first job. It's early in career, 0 to 1 year's experience. For an engineer one role, but having that passion to being hungry of learning different technology, stretching yourself, whether it's on an engineer one role, but maybe down the road, you're interested in data science, and then, learning that piece of it, and, looking up different tools and avenues where you could learn. Having great mentors, I think, is super important too, especially in your journey to early in career.
Wonderful. So it's kind of like the same question, but I think more focused on mentorship and, like, when you get in the door. Bimpe, I'm curious for you, like, as someone that's navigated this and now you're in your role, what are some things that you've done to either overcome things like imposter syndrome, or push yourself to ask for help, even though it might seem intimidating sometimes, or just even navigate like this new way of remote onboarding and remote working? Like, what served you well once you got your foot in the door?
Yeah, I would say, starting out, there's always that anxiety that comes with it's something new, it's a new environment, even though you know that you're being hired because you're bringing something to the table that an organization recognizes. As an individual, being the person starting out, I think there are two things that I've found that are always instrumental. And I think the first thing was an advice I was given very, very early in my career, and I still use it till today, is always ask why. Make sure you ask why 5 times, because when you're in a new environment, I call it, you've just arrived in space and they're aliens. Everything is foreign. And so you really benefit from just asking why. The second thing that I would say, and I would say that at Nordstrom, I found to actually be really well done, honestly, and has even gotten better as we've started remote onboarding, is when you go to that first onboarding network, get to know somebody. There is power in network. Now, on the other side of the fence, which is as a hiring manager and onboarding others, I think it is important for us to create systems to really make it an easier barrier for people to be able to address things such as, yes, there is the reality of imposter syndrome. I think one of the things, particularly in COVID, that we've done well and working with our recruiting teams, for example, is really on your first day, we give you, here's what your first week would look like. We've already pre-scheduled all your meetings. Here's an onboarding buddy for you, but here's also a mentor for you. Those are the kind of things. And by the way, here are employee resource groups, and these are mentoring groups that you can be a part of. And I frankly really think, because I just went through the onboarding process, that has really made my integration, and I think my feeling of I was quick to be able to produce and bring my best self to work, that I think that has been a phenomenal experience for me in the past 2 years here at Nordstrom.
Thank you. Joy, same question. Like, in your time here, what are some things that have helped you to navigate your career, and whether, like I said, whether mentorship or asking for help, like what tools and resources do you pull from to just completely eliminate imposter syndrome and blow it out the water?
Yeah, so I plus one would allow what Binbei have called out. I center, I think for myself, what I have learned is really I want to be the best version of myself, which is really key. And a lot of my journey is about finding that. And then what Nordstrom does wonderfully is really before I even join, like what Binbei's experience is a lot of meeting is pre-booked on helping me network, getting to know people at Nordstrom. And I find that tremendously supportive. I feel so welcome. I feel like everybody from day one want me to be successful. Having that document, that piece of paper on me say, here's how your week look like. So from that networking, I met so many people new, and also I find the support from so many people, and from there I define a mentor that I really clicked on, and then eventually become a long-term mentorship that that person have with me, where I feel really comfortable. So that's the second piece, is really the supporting environment where Nordstrom has, and it's available there for you. And go back to what Binbei say, ask why. Why we're doing this, because as a new person, being the best version of ourselves, we're curious and want to know. And that really bring it back. And I feel like a lot of time people are afraid for people who join new to my team. They're afraid. They are like, oh, the team is so busy, right? I feel like I don't want to take up your time. And what the environment I build up is really encourage that, encourage the, you know what, you are new here. We want you to ask questions. And my team, we also do co-mentors assigned to new person, because that's for the person to feel like there's more than one dedicated person can ask. And of course, they can ask the entire team, right? So I find all those together, we are really wanting everybody to have a great onboarding experience, especially right now, virtual is so difficult. And so that whole environment, that whole supporting side of it, and as a leader, myself feel accountable to make that experience easier. So I feel like that's from myself and from leader looking together, and that's what I see the best we can do. Thank you.
Thank you. We are at the halfway point, and before we keep going, I just want to remind everyone that if you have a question for our panel or something that's not being asked, then please feel free to use the chat function and we will tee it up for our panelists on your behalf. But again, just a reminder, please definitely use the chat function and feel free to engage and be part of the conversation. Okay, so just keeping things going, I'd love to touch on like how community has played a part in career development. And I can start and just use an example. Throughout my career in particular, I have always had a community of people, men and women, who have served as, support or grounding for me if I feel like I'm kind of losing my footing a little bit. Just knowing that I can reach back to them and know that they will give me sound advice, very real advice, sometimes maybe not necessarily the thing that I want to hear, but the thing that I need to hear, has always been like the most impactful, important thing. But also in knowing that having a diverse set of influences in my career and guiding me, those who look like me and understand what I may be facing as I navigate, and then those who may not, who may be able to provide varying perspectives for me that I just might not be able to see because of my own experiences, has really served me well. And they aren't necessarily just people here at Nordstrom in fashion retail. They are just very diverse. So I think like just having a diverse scope of folks to reach back to, in terms of industry, in terms of background, in terms of experience, that's been the one thing that I can say has really just enriched my overall career journey and helped me navigate spaces, embrace people, connect with people, and I value it tremendously. I think I wouldn't trade it for the world. So with that said, Bimpe, what's been something or how has community played a part in your career development and where has it shown up the most?
Okay. Whew, that's a very much a loaded question. But I think I would say first of all is every step in my journey. And I think any success that I can claim to this point in time has always been because I was championed by somebody along the way. I think I have had many mentors, and I think I'm now in a place where I have the privilege, but also I think that responsibility to also be that champion and that mentor to others. Within Nordstrom, one of the things you talked about, Kristen, is the need for spaces. There are spaces where I need to go and say I want to identify because of my lived experience being a Black working mom within the industry. There are spaces where I need to go and navigate and say, hey, it's leadership. There's spaces where I need to go where it's about, my skills and developing my my knowledge as a technology leader. I think one of the things that, and specifically, I think heightened by COVID, that I really think, again, when I started out and talked about the intent, I think the intentionality of Nordstrom that has really played out has been encouraging those courageous conversations and those spaces for people to be able to pop in and relate and say, these are the things that I see are the barriers, or these are the mentors that I need, or this is something that, I want to develop. And to maybe, again, tying back some of these things we're talking about with onboarding, one of my fellow directors that I met, we started at the same day at Nordstrom and had the opportunity to network together. We call ourselves the Partner for Good. We are being supported and encouraged to actually, and we're looking at creating mentoring circles and creating spaces within technology. Not that other things do not exist at Nordstrom, but to say, here's another space we can create for people that's safe, that they can share experiences, but can also help grow and help them to be able to nurture their skills, their talents, and find their voices. And actually being able to see and expand, for example, coming to things such as the Wheat Regatta, be able to see people there now come and be representation for Nordstrom, I think speaks to the health of the organization overall. So I think we can underscore what that community means, and it's never just one. It's multiple spaces, and to be able to have that, I think, going back to what Joyce said, allows me to bring my best self to work every day.
Wonderful, thank you. I'd like to take this opportunity now to pull in one of the questions from the chat, if that's all right. And this one I will pitch to Nicole. So I think this is a great question because we're talking about community and how communities support, how we're use community as a support tool. But I think also like in your communities, the ones you build and the ones that are built around you, there comes time where it's not always like flowers and roses. We're not always in agreement or alignment. So a question that popped up for us is, how do you gracefully deal with disagreement? Meaning, like if you want to protect your opinions, how do you go about that? And can we provide concrete examples of what that looks like?
Well, that's a really good question. I think sometimes reigns a little more true, right, with women, because we tend to avoid, or those who identify as women, that we tend to avoid confrontation all the time, and those are biases about us, and disagreement. I think a big part of it is listening and understanding, to making sure that you are given the space to explain your opinion or why you're stating what you're stating, and then to give space to the other party to explain why they disagree with you or vice versa, and what their reasonings are, and to be able to find that common ground to be able to discuss on, and to know in the front end that there may not be an agreement, and to look for the larger goal. So a concrete example would be, and I'll take it from my own personal experience, is I recruit for businesses. So I have leaders that I support. And I think there's often times where there's disagreement about whether or not a candidate is truly the right candidate. They have expertise in their area as well and seeing what their teams need. But as a recruiter and understanding the market, I also have expertise. And so it's taking that time to listen to each other, understanding what they need from a perspective in the role, and then me giving evidence as to why this candidate can perform that role at some point, and why they're ready to be involved in this, and to listen to each other and to kind of come to an understanding, and maybe they go with the candidate and maybe they don't, but at least we took the time to talk about it versus just going at each other back and forth.
Wonderful, thank you. And I'd like to pitch the same question to Fenya. How do you gracefully handle disagreement and with the intent of protecting your opinions?
Oh, great question. So similar to Nicole, what I like to do is open it up for discussion. I asked them, so tell me why you're feeling this way. Let's talk about it. And then, hear them out, give them that space where they could tell me why they're feeling this way. And then coming to an agreement at the end saying, okay, so we agreed to this. What about these steps? Why? Let's take steps A, B, and C, where at least I've heard them out, they've heard me out, but I also know why they feel the way they feel. And we come to a solution at the end, whether it's in the middle where we're still may or may not disagree, but at least they've heard me out and I've heard them out and why they are feeling the way they are. And we come to a common ground at the end where we actually at that point are agreeing to whatever it may be. I hope that makes sense.
It does. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pivot now and talk to talk specifically about what it means to be female or woman identifying and a tech professional at Nordstrom specifically. So I'd like to pitch this to Joyce. For you, how does that resonate for you, or what does that mean for you to be female or woman identifying and a tech professional at Nordstrom?
So it's a very deep question in a way that, like, I ask myself, right? I am a mom. I have a teenage daughter, 17 years old. I'm a wife, and I'm also a daughter. My dad, who live overseas. So, and then, my love for fashion and technology, right? So with all those, that's who I am. I feel like at Nordstrom, I can say all those things out loud. For example, I need to take the time off to spend time with my dad, right? And I feel like Nordstrom is such a safe place for me to say that. And then I remember I telling my team, I have a teenager daughter, 17 years old. She's giving me a hard time. Of course, right? Teenagers. I find at Nordstrom, I could share that with my coworkers and I feel safe about it. They don't look at me differently. How come you're not this hard woman image you need to be, right? So then I feel like it's so comfortable for me to be myself as a woman with all this identity of me, and I can still do what I love about technology, right? And so that's where I find how I enjoy working at Nordstrom. And really every day I feel like I'm so supported to be myself. And so that for myself in a way, the woman part isn't as isn't a roadblocker for me. Let me
Mhm.
just say it that way. I don't know whether it's political correct to say that or not. But I find with my long journey as a technology woman, I find the woman identity sometimes was a roadblock. But the Nordstrom was never an issue for me. I feel like, I can really, be myself on that. Yeah. So thank you. I hope that's helpful. But
No,
it's
it
such a
is.
deep question.
It is. It's very helpful. Bimpei, if you don't mind, could you same question?
Oh my, I'm just like, Joyce, we're living in each other's heads, so this must be true. Because when I pondered that, I'm like, starting out early in career, it was first being a woman was lonely. And then it was being Black and having an accent. And that it was very worst, being a working mom was not fun at all. There was always this need to hide away those sets of identities. And I used to call it the quadruple negative of working in technology. That honestly was the experience starting out. And it is very true. And it just resonates where it's like, yes, when I say this, I'm not just saying it because I work at Nordstrom, but I'm like, I am Black. Sometimes the accent does show up. I am a woman. I am a working mom. And I'm also an engineering leader. And I bring all of that to work, and that allows me to lead effectively, to coach my team, to be very, very clear and direct about the actions, the challenges that we face every day, technology, and make sure that we orient it to what is best, not just for our customer, but for our employees. And just be laser focused on this is what we need to do, because I know there are moms, there are other working moms that need to shop at Nordstrom. There are Black women that shop at Nordstrom. There are other identities that shop at Nordstrom. I think it actually really makes me effective and passionate about what I do. And that I think has just been amazing, where it's like during COVID, to use the example, is, hey, here's my kid popping up on my video chat. But at the same time, being able to make space for that and say, hey, and by the way, right now we need to accelerate getting contactless pay delivered for our customers because the health of and safety of our customers matter. And being able to navigate through that and really drive the transformation that we needed for Nordstrom, I think just really makes me excited about the work that I do every day.
Wonderful. Thank you so much both for sharing that and being so vulnerable also in your response and so honest. I really appreciate that. So we have one last question left, but I just wanted to use this time to also quickly remind people that please use the chat functions. We would love to hear, from you in terms of like some specific questions that you have for our panel. We have about 15 minutes left, so we really want to make best use of the time that we have here together. So by all means, whatever it is, no questions too big or no questions too small. We'd love to hear from you. So the last one, our area that I love for us to focus on is a little bit of a heavy one to end on, but I think necessary. In society, I think that we've noticed such a significant culture shift within the last few years, but specifically last year for women, for Black people, Black women, just people of color in general. And so to that degree, I'd like for us to talk a little bit about how that's changed our focus here at Nordstrom or even at the individual career level, and what the future looks like or what we hope for in the future. And for as an example, I can start from a DIB perspective. I'm our senior program manager on our marketplace inclusion team that sits specifically under our diversity, inclusion, and belonging group. And so a lot of our focus is on across our diversity goals and our 4 pillars, which include the one that I lead, which is marketplace, and then the ones that my colleagues lead, which are culture, talent, and leadership. And one of the ways that we're really going after hitting our goals, aside from showing up in our retail space, is to really focus inwardly and make sure that everything that we say that we're about outwardly is a reflection of who we are as an internal organization. And, through standing up things like our employee resource groups and affinity groups, which help to create community, provide support, and sometimes even really serve as a business resource function for how we think about our values, particularly around customer obsession. What does customer obsession mean at Nordstrom in the future, right? Like when we say customer obsession, we mean all customers. We mean customers of varying ethnic backgrounds, of abilities, of cultures, you name it. We are obsessed with you, and we want to be obsessed with you, and we want to know more about you and how we can better serve you on your terms when you need us. Or even if we're talking about things like remote culture, right? The pandemic has just sent us into a way of working that I think we didn't know that we could adapt so quickly, basically. And I think to that effect, Nordstrom is really taking into account what that's looked like over the past year and how that's really improved either someone's like work life, managing their work life, or how it's enhanced their ability to navigate their career, or just really giving people the space to choose for themselves to some degree, depending on the role, depending on the job, and depending on the need. So I think flexibility has really become the name of the game when we think about remote culture and onboarding, and how that helps to drive us toward the future. So with that said, I'd love to be able to pivot to our panel. And I will start with Fenya. Within the last year, with all of these cultural shifts within work and people and the way we think, what role are you playing now in finding more diverse talent here at Nordstrom?
Thank you. That's a great question. So we have core schools that we are reaching out to and making sure that we meet our goal. And one of our goals at Nordstrom is to have at least 50% of our individuals participating in our early in career program as BIPOC. And we have core schools that we are reaching out to. We have career fairs that we are going to making sure that we meet that goal. So at least by 2025, we will increase our representation in Black and Latinx population and people manager roles.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Nicole, same question. What role are you currently playing in finding diverse talent and supporting our company goals?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of what Fenya said, early in career team is really doing a great job of starting and reaching out to the schools and attending, events that we haven't always attended, which is really good. We also realized that, we're headquartered here, and we've done a lot of work in Seattle, and there's a lot of talent out there, diverse talent across the country. And so we also have some marketplace diversification that we're looking at. And branching out and recruiting in different markets where we can find more of that diversity and bring it into our company. As more on the industry side, we're working with our leaders to expand their networks, to reach out, when they attend these events, to talk to the people, and then to bring back people that we can reach out to, and to build these new teams and to hire leaders in these diverse areas and to build new teams that we can diversify and edge towards our goals. And then also, not only is it just about bringing them in, but it's kind of touching on to what you said too. It's about creating an environment for everyone to thrive here, period, and to continue to thrive. So focusing on the talent we do have, our employees that we do have, and making sure that we create inclusive spaces for people to work and grow. And it's definitely a big part of our work that we do every day.
Thank you. Sorry, I dropped my phone. I was it was slipping off the desk and I was trying not to let it drop, but it dropped anyway. So I apologize. Um, let's see. So Joyce, could you share with us what responsibility in your role that you've taken on regarding being woman identifying leader in the tech space and finding the most diverse talent?
So sorry, I paused a little bit. There's so many things to share.
Yeah.
So for women, for my responsibility, I feel like, I'm looking at building a diverse team, right? So my responsibility, from the very beginning of my journey, I was very alone as a woman in technology field. So I've emphasized and focused a lot on bringing more gender diversity, right? That part, I feel like over the year, I've done really well. I'm very proud to say that I have a SVP who is female, although I did not hire her, but I'm so glad we have that. And I have engineering managers female, and I also have, the principal as female, senior principal, she's a female. And I also, all the way down to my bottom, where I have engineer two as of female and then senior engineer. So there are really great female role model in my team right now. And the responsibility I always hold really high is really when I recruit, I need to make sure the bringing female candidate and also the interview loop have people there identify female interviewers, right? So that's part of what in my earlier journey and the few years I done. Right now I look at racial, race, right? Like different diversity in race where I need to bring in. And that's one part I.
Oh no, I think we lost connection. Can everyone still hear me? Can I get a thumbs up? Okay. I think we just lost Joyce, unfortunately. So because I know that we only have 4 minutes left, I'm going to pivot a bit until she's able to get back on and ask Bimpe the same question. In your role, what are you focused on to help to move the needle for woman identifying or female identifying individuals in the tech space?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I would start with something an engineer said to me. And it didn't strike me until the person said, I have never had a Black leader, much less a female leader. And I was like, whoa, that's a huge responsibility. And that has just stuck with me, where it is important, I think, for me as a leader to show up and let people see that, yes, you can become this. And this is an environment where I am thriving as a woman and as a leader and with all the other identities that I carry. So I think with that, in terms of then how does that show up for me at Nordstrom, is what I talked about with Ian, my partner in crime, of how do we create spaces? How do we help to mentor? Because I find you don't have your best ambassadors and people on your team that feel that they are thriving and they are your best network. And when you then put them forward and we have representation and we are in spaces like the way we gather, but as Nicole and Fenya talked about, where we are expanding the schools where we're recruiting, and it is our employees that are going in and they're participating in those career fairs. Or when we do early in career interviewing, and we say that we want a diverse group, regardless of your race, regardless of your gender, regardless of your identity. Well, how do we show up during the interview process? And I can say that when we do our interview process, we do take that into account. And we're not bashful about it, and it's not trying to overrepresent what we're not. It is simply the reality of who we are as an organization. And I think that that's why, for me, not just in terms of our recruiting, but what we're doing in terms of our retention, if our people are thriving and they can show up and be their best, and they are the ones that are going out in those spaces and they're the ambassadors, well, I don't really have to say much more about why Nordstrom then is the best place to work. So I think for me, it's really about how am I working? And Joyce and I were always asking each other, can you be on this interview panel? Because it's important for us to make sure that we have representation. And Nicole and Fenia are always like, so can you please get people to come and interview? I think it's working with your partners, it's working with your network, and being very intentional about the way that that we show up. And I think, as Joyce mentioned, I do always look at it, what's my gender representation on my team? What's the diversity representation? What populations are we missing out? Because the more we allow these different views to come and sit at the table as we're making the best decisions, that's how we actually provide the best capabilities, the best product, the best digital experiences for our customers. It just automatically translates.
Thank you. That's awesome. I appreciate that. So we are at time and we have about 2 minutes left. But before I wrap it up, I just want to plug and remind folks that if you haven't already done so, please fill out the survey in yellow. We would really love it if you could submit your information so we can be sure to review and connect with you post panel for opportunities, and we have linked it in the chat. So please make sure that you're filling that out. I just want to take some time also to thank my colleagues here at Nordstrom for participating today and for allowing me as an external partner, well, external to the tech space, but more on our DIB team, to take up space and serve as your moderator today. And I really loved hearing from all of you. And I want to also thank everyone for who are in the chat and who are listening today for joining us, and really hope that you do connect with us further for more opportunities at Nordstrom in tech and abound and beyond. So thank you all.
Thank you, Christian. Thank you so much for moderating today, and thank you so much to the Nordstrom-Technology team for joining us. That concludes today's Job Expo, but we do like to do a sort of after party if any of the panel are able to stay behind, and any attendees that want to stick around and ask a few more questions. But this sort of concludes the official Job Expo. So thank you so much.